Well, good morning, everyone. At least it is morning up here in the Arctic, and now the days are getting shorter all the time, rapidly. But I'm sure that where you may be, things will be perhaps more hospitable. This is our seventh in the webinar series, Seeds of the Infinite webinar series. And there are so many complexities in this subject, and yet it is a subject absolutely simple. So simple as to be maybe difficult of understanding with the mind per se. Another faculty has to be brought into operation. It relates to the heart and the head, I think, more than the mind. It's identificatory, what a word, identificatory faculty. And today we're going to be dealing with that kind of simplicity. In our meditation last week, and I hope that I did send you the meditation for last week. What I'm going to do is send out these meditations for you so you can practice them if you like. We had this alignment exercise where we went through the states of registration we call the spiritual triad, at least in the imagination, and also into the monad, imaginatively, of course, even though we are the monad, nothing that is not the one monad, really. And then we descended, trying to bring these states into the reality of our normal mental, personal registration, and we used the Tibetans' method in describing isolated unity in Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2. He showed how, well, he hinted, I think, at the logoic plane and then the monadic, and then through the sacrifice petals and into the head center and the base of the spine, and registering in that way in the personality. And we had some practice with that descent. Today the meditation will be different, quite different. And I'm counting on us all to use our creative imagination, which is one of the things that emerges prominently for the second ray types that use these fusion formulas. Although it is said that Esoteric Psychology, the 2 volumes, are books for initiates of the first degree. You never know what he means by that, because he could mean the 3rd degree, but I think he does really mean the first degree, the birth of Christ in the heart. They carry profundities which lead way beyond that 1st degree and take us into realms of realization which are not normally open to the 1st degree consciousness. It just depends on whether we see it or not. There are these marvelous stanzas about the solar angel, 7 stanzas on the angel of the presence, and I've made commentaries on those. They're on the Makara website, and those are clearly stanzas for the 3rd degree and for the type of infusion which occurs by the angel of the presence into the personality at that time. So in this little book, especially I think Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2, we have tremendous hints about how to proceed ever deeper on the path. I'd like to, just kind of welcome you, Alex, and Veronica, Anna, and Anu, Catherine, Clasia, Eva, Ginny, John Alexis, Kathy, Keith, Leah, Maria Rosa, Martha, Denmark, Mickelson, Michael, Myrna, and Nicolaus, and Regina, Sam, and then Sheldon Hughes, Stephen Ambrosish, and Stephen Renneberg, Tiffany, and Tiu. And then we have our staff standing by, Brett, Joe, Kay, and myself. So we have a nice shambolic number. Well, maybe it's not so shambolic because, no, it is shambolic. It's the number 24. Oftentimes I'm represented more than once because I have two computers going, but this morning I just have one computer going. So, in the advanced schools of meditation, there will be 24 students and 3 teachers. We can all look forward to that time in the coming Aquarian age, but the number 24 is a powerfully shambolic number, and in a way we are dealing with a shambolic subject. Well, I don't see any need to say much more before getting into the meditation. I do look forward to sharing my new book with you. This book, of course, is about infinity, and it never seems to end. I don't know if it ever began, but it just keeps going. But I'm adding these various seed thoughts and have to get them organized, and I think it will be fruitful in the future to be able to ponder these things. I said last time we were together, I said, practice, practice, practice. And then a co-worker wrote me and said, well, maybe what you really mean is the as-if method. I said, of course, that's true. And what one does is one practices the as-if method, which allows in the realizations which might not come in either in any other way. It might be called the willing suspension of disbelief. The willing suspension of disbelief. People say, well, I can't do that, and that's beyond me, and so forth. And one has to suspend temporarily one's disbelief in one's own ability in order to get out of the way and allow these revelations, which are always present, to enter the consciousness such as we have. We have to get out of our own way in a personal sense, so that that which we are in a far deeper sense can make its impression. And that's where the act as if method comes in, wherein we willingly suspend our disbelief and we actually believe. It's part of the full moon method, and I think on the last of the 7 days, the meditator is supposed to have this conviction of belief, establishing this in the consciousness. So with practice, with acting as if, with being willing to allow the world to think you are half mad or pursuing something that has no practical value. It's really the most practical thing in the world to realize in a deeper sense one's identity. It's so utterly practical, but to the world it seems an impractical thing. But we allow people to judge our pursuit in that way, and then at a certain time when they find it necessary for themselves, they will pursue similarly. There's no one on this planet that eventually will not pursue the path of identification, um, and masters on our planet particularly become experts in this field. They become adjudicators between the pairs of opposites. Actually, what they do is they realize that which is neither of the pairs of opposites. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, but I must prevent myself from talking on and on, and what I'll do is get into this meditation. Now, this will be a workout for us, so get your creative imagination ready, and we will proceed. And beginning in a more or less usual way as a standard basis, and then moving into something which is quite different. So this is called the simplicity of identification, and it will be divided over different weeks into different kinds of identifications. Tonight, or this morning, whatever, we're dealing with identification with other human beings. But obviously, all the kingdoms of nature have to be practiced, and then the great wholes, the great aggregations, the planetary entities, the lords of the kingdom of nature. It doesn't make any difference. The great solar logoi, the galactic logoi, the whole, the one. Eventually, that identification has to be practiced. We're not talking about relativity here. We have to blot out relativity. We have to eliminate from our consciousness, and this is going to seem so strange, okay? We have to eliminate quality from our consciousness temporarily. Our whole education in this field is based upon the recognition of quality, and that is a soul perception. The soul is the quality of life, and we have lifetimes ahead of us in the ongoing realization of quality and the interrelation of the various entities and their qualities. But now we're not talking about that. We're going to deal with something that is non-qualitative. Like if you saw a great white light, that would be relatively, let's say, non-qualitative compared to the breaking of that light into 7 different strands of color. There the quality would emerge. But all of these lights resolve into the one great light, and then into the darkness of spirit, which is, I suppose, a light so intense that we cannot fathom it. Okay, friends, here we go. So, having achieved some degree of readiness and alertness and comfort at the same time, we use the not this, the not that, neti method to realize that we are the soul in incarnation temporarily. We have a temporary physical body and bioelectric field, etheric, but they are instruments for purposes of this work. We are not those fields, not the body, not the etheric body. They could drop away and we would be what we are. And we have our feelings, our sensitivities, our desires, our attractions, our repulsions. But they are what they are in relativity, and they could drop away and we would still be what we are. We are not those states. And many other words and the contents of the mind. The mind is always speaking. And some people think they are the mind. I know in my early days I did. That's only partially true. All of that which is in the concrete mind could cease and drop away, and we are not that. Although later, of course, we reclaim everything that we say we are not. That's the mystery. So all this familiar self, all this personal self, all this daily self, what we usually mean when we say the word I, is an aggregation, an illusion. It assembles in time and space, but is let go, is dissipated, and we can say, not this, not that, neti, 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 not this, not that, something else. And when these factors with which we previously identified drop away, the world of light, of unitive love, of sacrificial will, is revealed as more real. Not ultimately real, we learn, but more real. And we begin to live consciously as a soul. As DK admonishes us to do, and on that plane we are all connected with each other. We feel a unity, the unitive organs within our subtle nature begin to be prominent, and no matter where we are in time and space, we are in each other's presence, unified. At first unified, and then as the monad takes over, all sharing, being, the one great abiding factor which never was born and never will die. So it's as if we are in the central fire, the jewel in the lotus, not totally revealed for any one of us, of course, but in our imagination. We center ourselves within the central fire, and we find each other not as persons, but as extensions of the monad in the central fire. There's a certain sameness to us that we begin to recognize regardless of what relativity reveals. Because we are all different and we're all the same simultaneously. And in this central fire, we can extend our consciousness. The larger planetary view of the abstract mind. An extension of the universal mind. We're part of the planetary thinking process. As our identity begins to merge with that of the planetary logos, we're just tiny cells within that greater being. And the Buddhi is there, giving us love and harmony and simultaneous perception of cause and effect. It just comes to you. You don't have to reason it out. Master Morya calls it straight knowledge. And we'll grow into that. That is the Buddhi. The masters are there. It requires the heart and the head, the love petals, the love synthesis petal, and the various chakras on the Buddhic plane, so far unrevealed. But it brings inclusiveness, and the Atma is there, the will that drives us. It's not a personal will, it's not a soul will. It is the spiritual will, the will of the planetary logos in attenuation through our tiny microcosmic selves, driving us forward according to the purpose and plan. The will-driven life. It's the first ray aspect. You don't have to be on the first ray. Everybody has Atma. Everyone has Buddhi. Everyone has abstract mind. It's not a personal life. It's a life in the plan, as the plan. We cannot ignore the lower instruments and must get them into shape, but ultimately, as we express the will deeply found within us, we become an aspect of the plan. And finally, although you could meditate on any one of these stages for weeks or months, into the world of being itself, the world of the monad, where subject and object are dissolved into each other. A very pure form of identification which one day, as Chohans, we will realize. But if the monad is touched, the sense of beingness begins to emerge so strongly that quality is subdued. Useful, but subdued in the greater realization. So let us try to retain, as we go through these visualization exercises, this sense of beingness, which is so subtle. As the mystics say, nearer than hands and feet. So we will retain this sense of the alignment as we work with more customary images. Remember, all that we're doing here is in the attempt to promote realization, esoteric experience, and absorption into the whole. Those three are DK's definition of identification, at least one of his definitions. So, we will each use our creative imagination and we will do the following. It's in 3 phases, and it will require the use of the discrimination. So, you see an image of another human being. Maybe you begin with a personal image. Perhaps someone you know. Maybe someone you like, even. Someone close to you. You see them in their personality nature at first, as clearly as possible. And as you are inwardly viewing this individual, you are simultaneously focusing in your heart center, in your heart in the head center, in the 12 petals of the egoic lotus, and in the monadic 12, at least imaginatively. So you are seeing this individual, and holding this heart alignment, and you gaze at this apparently other human being, apparently other. You hold the image and the alignment, and inwardly, or whispering, however best for you, say to yourself slowly and repeatedly, pausing for realization, you say, as you hold the alignment and see the individual, you say, I am you. I am you. This is not a personal, qualitative concentration. You're not thinking of the person qualitatively, but simply you're thinking, you're realizing that this person is existentially, in terms of being. So don't get hung up on quality. It's something deeper. I am you. Keep that heart alignment while you're doing this. Because the heart is the life, and we're dealing with the life being aspect. You are identifying as that field, as that homogeneity, as that identicality out of which you and the other person have emerged. I am you. And you can continue to practice this, of course. Let's extend the meditation. And imagine now the causal body of this individual. Be the field of homogeneous identity from which that causal body emerges. Whatever identification you had when viewing maybe the physical body and the personality, sustain it when you imagine the causal body, the egoic lotus of the other individual. I am you. Carry it still further. Imagine the 12-fold monadic nature of the individual in question. It's simply imagination at this point, but it can bring us even closer. Be the field of homogeneous identity out of which this fellow monad has emerged. You as the monad have emerged from it. The apparent other has emerged from it. This is the world of being. Many things have dropped away, and the identicality of you as the monad and the apparent other as the monad impresses you. I am you. The beingness should begin to vibrate in your heart. And in the higher 12s. And in a more synthetic sense, you can simply use the word, try it, I, I, I. And it will appear that the I and you have not only emerged from the same thing, but are the same thing. Now look at the whole alignment, the apparent other person, the egoic lotus of the other person, the monad, the being of the other person. Expand into the I am you, I. And this is something to practice at odd times of the day, whenever. Just takes a few seconds, a minute. Practice this with people you know and like, people close to you. And the whole relationship with these people, with these individuals, will be altered and eventually dissolved into identicality, non-qualitative identicality. But let us go further. I'm going to send you this meditation, and I'm going to skip one central part of it because it's very neutral. It does the same process with just anyone, the most casual acquaintance, the person you see in the restaurant, in the gas station, on the street, anyone. But now, maybe a harder application of this process. This time, visualize an individual that you don't like. Someone for whom there may be antipathy, or someone that humanity has judged, and you know it to be so, as a negative force within humanity. This is really a test, because it requires that you overcome quality completely. So, whoever this may be, from your personal life, someone you're having difficulty with, or someone historically judged as part of the forces of opposition, and see them, the image, and don't get sucked into the quality. There they are, the individual. When you see such an image, there can be reactions in your solar plexus or in your thoughts, but don't give in to them. Neutralize those secondary reactions and realize the identicality that you are and that the other is, and from which you have both emerged. I am you. Practice. And you may feel at a certain moment that subtle shift when you move from quality to being. Very subtle. In a way, you are viewing this individual within the monadic field, or an attenuation of the monadic field. I am you. The causal body of this individual, imagined, I am you. You see, we dissolve all difference in the heart energy, and in the superheart and superheart and superheart, which becomes the monad. And we find the substratum, the substance, which is God. Harmlessness is the expression of the life of the man who realizes himself to be everywhere, who lives consciously as a soul, whose method is inclusiveness, and to whom all forms are alike in that they veil and hide the light, and are but externalizations of the one infinite being. And the monad, the 12-fold monad, whose essence is pure being, I am you, I, the greater I. Dissolve that repulsion, that avoidance, that distaste, that inharmony into the field of identicality, I. Good or bad, good or evil, plus or minus, dark or light, none of the pairs of opposites holds the identificatory consciousness. And the great unity, the great identicality slowly emerges and proves itself in every moment of our experience. Naught is but me. This is the second ray method of identification, and DK's words from Letters on Occult Meditation apply. And I'll find that. When the egoic ray is the second, or the love wisdom ray, the path of least resistance lies along the line of expansion, of a gradual inclusion. It is not so much a driving forward as in the first ray, as it is a gradual expanding from an inner center to include the entourage, the environment, the allied souls, and the affiliated groups of pupils under some one master, until all are included in the consciousness. And this will, as we learn, this will destroy the causal body. That's what we're attempting to do over the lifetimes ahead. And the method of inclusion, of holding all within the consciousness simultaneously, and eventually realizing naught is but me, this is one great method. And different ray types will have different methods. And so you practice this with those you love, with those you may hate or be repulsed by. But the pairs of opposites do not hold you. The great source which you are, and which every other appearance is, emerges. At first, the higher lives, the angels, the greater beings, the planetary logos, and on, until there is true absorption into the One. And what would your life be like in the lower three worlds if you were able to truly identify as another, knowing that it's not what you are, but that you are at all? What would your life be like? Ponder on that for a little while. What would your relationships be like? Because we are not leaving relationship behind. We are not becoming impractical. Everything the intelligent human being in the three worlds does, we must be able to do, while still holding the sameness, the identicality. And I would say that a great intelligence will emerge, a great love will emerge, a great will emerge, if the life aspect is realized. And then for us, the words, "it's all one," will no longer become, as the Tibetan has said, so trite and unrealized platitude. It will no longer be so. It will be reality. realization. And as you practice I am you, or even the mantra I, realize that somehow to be you is even greater than to love you. To be you is even greater than to love you, and certainly greater than to know you. But they all blend together, the three and the one. Life pervades the Trinity. So let us encourage humanity's growth towards unity first, overcoming these temporary antipathies based upon a partially benighted consciousness, and living the life of realization, we will become an example to others, apparent others, to do likewise. In the heart within the head, in the 12-fold egoic lotus, under the higher 12 of the monad, the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. am you. Okay, friends, these are subtle matters, and maybe it's a good thing the moon is in Pisces right now, because those kinds of realizations are promoted by the Neptunian energy, probably the highest ruler of Pisces, a special ruler with regard to humanity and Pisces. So practice, you live your daily life, you do what you have to do, you live, love, and learn, you study, you meditate, and even while you are accumulating skill, ability, faculty in the world of relativity, you identify, you find the way to identify. You find your own way in. It's like building the Antakarana yourself, your own way. So, I know sometimes it's difficult to talk after, one goes into a pretty deep Neptunian meditation, but I'm certainly open to any thoughts. I mean, sometimes the content of these programs will be more mental. Right now, I'm working with an identificatory content. There's a lot of things we have to discuss about mathematics and Maya and infinity and the point, many things that remain to be discussed, but the primary thing, the ancient Vedantins, they said you could write 10,000 books and they would all be on the subject of thou art that. Tat tvam asi, thou art that. If we realize that, then we have the fundamental. And as I told you, my old teacher, I have so much gratitude for him, but he said, there are 10,000 things I don't know, but of the principles I am sure. And thou art that. I am you. I am thou. And finally, just I, the all-inclusive I. And finally, silence. That will bring us where we need to be, and from that time on we can move with rapidity in the world of relativity, becoming, what we must become as we move towards re-emergence or union with the higher lives. So, if there is anyone that would like to speak or offer a thought, you're most welcome at this point. I never quite know what I'm going to bring up, but I was working with this formula quite a bit this week. And of course, I was working with it with all animals, with all plants, with all minerals, with all things, with all perceptions. It made no difference, and we'll get into that. And the result, is this overpowering sense of the unity merging into the identicality. I thought, well, this is just the fundamental of it all, so this is our 7th meeting, and why not just go for the gold? This is where it is. and we'll build on that as we do other things. Next week I may be traveling. I don't know. I'll let you know whether it's possible, and I'll let you know whether it's going to be 5:15 or maybe 6 o'clock in the morning here. We'll see. I'll let you know all that. So anyway, anybody have anything that you might? And Brett, if there's any question from people, just let me know what the question might be, because yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Jenny has a couple of items.
Mm.
You said that identification means one realization. What were the other two items?
Right. Identification is realization, esoteric experience, and absorption into the whole. Let's see if we can find where that is. Absorption into the whole. So this is going to be in Raised Initiations, page 61. Identification is realization plus esoteric experience plus again an absorption into the whole. And for all this, as I have earlier pointed out to you, we have no terminology. But let's just say that, even though it may be a quixotic pursuit, I'm trying to evolve a terminology which may be of use to some types of thinkers. And that's, my former book on infinity, Infinitization of Selfhood, and my new Seed Thought book really gets into this terminology, and hopefully to some it will be a key to other types of minds. They'll have to find their own way. One cannot be all things to all people, although if you have a lot of Aquarius in your chart, there is a temptation to do that, against which I've been warned. But anyway, there it is. Identification is realization plus esoteric experience plus again an absorption into the whole. And for all of this, as I've earlier pointed out, we have no terminology. So this is a pioneering work. Okay, Jenny. Other questions? Or there seems to be something here from Jan or Jan Oliveira.
Yes. It seems difficult to apply this thinking to those we don't care for.
Mm-hmm.
Those that carry a point of aversion, but will certainly give it a try. Wonderful, expanding applications of experience. Thank you, from Jan.
Okay, Jan. Well, you're absolutely right, and that's why I threw it into the meditation. I remember, maybe some of you have read, was it? It's sort of the biography of Vivekananda. Now, I think that Ramakrishna did not write his own biography, but he was written about. And I can't remember whether this it was an essay, really. Was it written by Vivekananda, or was it written about Vivekananda? But anyway, I believe, he was standing at about the fourth initiation. And he went into this Shiva ice cave. The Shiva ice cave. And was there an ice statue of Shiva in the cave? Something like that. And it was a really tremendously altering experience for him. He came out of the cave. It's kind of a fourth initiation realization, realizing that both good and evil were absolutely necessary in this life, and that you couldn't have one without the other. You know how all of us are, and we must, of course, we we embrace the good and we reject the evil, or what we think of as evil, the other, the lower of the pairs of opposites. But then to have this realization that they are both a part of each other is this, it's a view between the pairs of opposites. And you see, that's what I say, that this is about the impersonal life. We just cannot get taken in by those we love and those we hate, because those are all of the world of relativity, and one is not traveling between the pairs of opposites. One has Ida or Pingala, but not Shushumna. So it's a practice. Sometimes what I do, well, it's always fun to visualize Churchill or to visualize FDR, say, I am you, but still it's equally as dangerous, because you can get pulled into their personal qualities and you can start identifying with the things you like about those great people. But suppose you put Hitler or one of those horrible Nazis in front of your mind. Can you negate what they are as personalities? TK said there were evil personalities. Obviously there are no evil souls, there are no evil monads. Can you negate what you see and feel about them and get into the realm of being and find the equality? See, this is where Libra comes in. We're in Libra now. All beings are equal. They're not equal in manifestation. They're not equal in expression. But they are equal in essence. And can we find the essence even with people we don't like and who don't like us? So that's where the practice comes in. Probably the best I can do, all you can do is give it a try and know that it's not easy, but see what can be done. And there's that subtle shift. It happens. First of all, you may say, oh, and then suddenly another dimension takes over, and that equality of the monad begins to emerge. Okay, Jan. That's the best shot I can do at that one. Okay, so here is Maria Christina. Go ahead, Maria Christina. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm going back in the meditation. Just was going to share one little piece when we were expanding through identification with another. I did start with one of my daughters, but then the nature of the times being such, I shifted to the Pope. And identifying, and you took me to identify on all these levels with the Pope. And it became so beautifully obvious how he stimulates the heart of those around him. He has like a fiery purity of identification with others, with humanity. I really believe he's part of the externalization of hierarchy somehow, an apostle overshadowed by the Lord of the Sixth Ray, perhaps, a Master Jesus. But just, it was very powerful, so that's just a sharing. But I can ask a question, which I came about from this last conversation of good needing evil in order to exist, which my daughter just asked me about, stemming from the great invocation, seal the door where evil dwells. And folks are aware of this question of, does not the good need the evil? And I stumbled most unsatisfactorily through could cosmic evil exist? I don't know. How would you reply in everyday life to that with hope,
Mm.
so to speak?
Yes. Thank you. It's such a difficult question. Somewhere in Cosmic Fire, well, Madame Blavatsky had a number of friends around her, and who were, pretty talented spiritual people. And one of them was a certain Dr. Anna Kingsford. And she was some kind of channel, or, she had some kind of connection with a higher intelligence. And she was asking, what is the nature of evil? And the source said, well, we would have withheld this from you until a later time, but here goes. And then that source explained why evil was necessary in the universe. So it could be interesting to try to find that little footnote. That's actually quite a big footnote, actually. And it gives kind of an explanation about the need for variety and diversity and the overcoming of the absolute oneness of God as a necessity, a cyclic necessity. And of course, you know the old equations, evil, live, veil, vile. Those 4 words, you just rearrange the letters, and you realize that the great illusion itself, the Mahamaya, is, essentially what we call evil because it's limitation. And this channel, whatever it was, goes into the necessity of limitation. Basically, when the Buddha tells us that evil is ignorance, he's simply speaking of limitation, and it's let's call it a necessary evil. So, this is what we're dealing with, and that's why we who are trying to be carriers of the light are, through our transmission of the light, overcoming that type of evil based upon ignorance. You have to think about it, and a lot of people say, oh, well, God didn't look after me, so I don't believe in God anymore. It's just a very childish way of looking at it. We need the big picture, and theosophy and trans-Himalayan wisdom does give us the big picture. Thank goodness. Thank you, Maria Christie.
Yeah, I'm just going to add one thing that's very mathematical. Math and geometry is based on the necessity to limit and so define the basic forms.
Yeah,
Talking about.
That's important. And now with all this work Francis is doing on sacred geometry, it's such a second-ray presentation of the grand geometrician and the perfection of the archetype. So there is in this higher world, in the world of being, these monadic archetypes, and they are the good, at least in the Platonic sense. Plato called them the forms, with a capital F, I suppose. We have to achieve them. It takes a while to do that, and we're always making approximations. I hope I can hear everything. Like I say, my dog stole my hearing aid. What can I tell you? I just have one of them now, and somewhere in this house, this little chihuahua ran away with my hearing aid, so I may not get everything that everybody says. I tried to do that. Thank you.
Michael?
Yes, Brett.
There's the comment by Rose.
Yes.
Compassion for the evil ones, even though it is a sentiment, I think, is a recognition of their being, for it is really compassion for the incarnating life.
Yes.
Helps with identification.
Yes. No man cometh to the Father except through me. So it is the great second ray opening into the higher aspect, and of course it's true. And it's been said that those who are choosing the path of deliberate evil cannot stand or withstand the compassion of the Christ. It's the thing they fear the most, and of course it's probably the very thing that will turn them around towards resolution eventually. It may not be in this solar system, we are told, because the monad may have to sever its connection entirely with all that it has produced on its pilgrimage. But yes, of course, it's the great, and it leads to understanding, compassion and understanding, and it opens the door to the realization of how that individual fell into evil ways and what might be the correction for the problem. So I definitely agree about the necessity of it, for sure. Thank you. And Nikolaos is here, and Nick, go ahead. You're on.
Okay. I focused during meditation to the elements that are resisting to identification, and it is a question of how to handle such repulsive, let's say, emotions. And one way is just to pick them up one by one and think about it and logically or reveal them in the light and so. I found it very practical to throw them into the fire. Practically, I'm using a small technique, which is like setting up a fire on the top of a hill or a mountain, right? And then you're throwing yourself in and letting all dross be burned.
Yeah.
Like that mantra, remember?
The mantra.
And you are just letting the dross burn. Because
absolutely.
I suppose that the root of what we are calling evil or whatever is exactly to be found within this resistance, to these elements that are not letting the one to identify with that which is broader.
Yes, it's good thoughts, and the ring pass not. We all have that, and in a way we all are that. It wants to preserve itself, and one of the great resistances is the resistance of the finite to the infinite. You will really find this to be the case if you explore people's minds, the maintaining of the integrity of the apparent I fights against the possibility of being all things. This is one of the ultimate resistances. I agree with you very much about our personal, emotional antipathies and things of that nature. And Roberto Assagioli, this is like the kind of technique that he would use. He was a Pisces, and he had a terrific ability to use the creative imagination and to put things into the flame, even our personal selves into the flame, is one of the ways of let all dross be burnt. The mantra of fire, which you were referring to. So I think it's a very, very good technique, and I would say this, Nicholas, that everybody has to evolve their own techniques. Someone can tell you, try this, try that, but ultimately it's what works for you and what you discover. So if the use of this flame on top of the mountain is really useful, then you use it and let everybody find their own way here. And eventually, but what I was referring to is there is a tremendous resistance of the finite unit wanting to maintain its finitude, if I can call it that way. I talked to a person, and I said to them, well, look, in God, in the absolutely infinite God, all things are forever achieved, and there is no progress in essence. And the person was horrified, because it seemed to take away all striving, all incentive, all those things that this person needed. It seemed to take away the illusion of progress. It's not meant to do that, because there's always progress in relativity. There's always progress in the Mahamaya. But when you challenge the finitude of any self-conscious unit, there's going to be fear to let that go. At least there is in many, many people. So the resistances of which you are speaking, they do run deep, and they are not only emotional resistances, they are what I would call ontological resistance. It's something about the nature of what we think we are, and letting that go. That's a tough one. Thank you for your thoughts, and it's a good image. I've used that image a lot. My wife has used that image. We oftentimes throw things into the fire, and of course it's got a lot of sixth ray, first ray in it. That's the purifying flame. Thank you, Nikolaus. Thank you. Okay, any other thoughts? Is there anybody else who has any question marks, anything like that, or any other thoughts? Like I say, next week I may be traveling, I'm not sure, and the time may change slightly. It may be just a little bit later, which I don't know if it's good for you or bad for you, but it won't be too much later. We have such a full schedule of events, of webinars and so forth, and people, of course, are working people, and their weekends are free, but not so much during the week. So, we try to make this available to as many as possible, but of course the video is available, and then I'll send you the meditation if you want to use it. So I'm looking for any other possible comments, and if I don't find them,
we have something from Ecclesia.
Okay.
The image on Treatise on Cosmic Fire, page 1181, came to mind in the meditation. The heart as a toroidal field.
Right. Is that the ultimate atom? Is that, let's see, TCF. Treatise in 1181, was that it?
Yes.
So yeah, it's the Babbitt atom, isn't it? Yeah. And that is really a useful thing, isn't it? This is the, it looks very heart-shaped, doesn't it? And actually DK tells us that on the Buddhic plane, let's see, how does he go? The permanent atoms are shaped like a figure 8 on the Buddhic plane, but there's also heart-shaped atoms, and I think they're on the astral plane, if my memory serves me. But it was very interesting to think that the 8 is the shape of one of those simpler permanent atoms found on the Buddhic plane. On the Buddhic plane we're told that the permanent atoms only have 3 spirille and not 7 as the lower ones are. What's really interesting is the way the mental unit and the mental permanent atom are split. One has 3, the other has 4. You put them together, there's a 7. So the achieving of that 7, I think, is probably very important, and it's a bridge. But the heart is the life. And it's just, we're not talking about sentiment here. We're talking about inclusiveness. And I think that this image with all of these spirille and whirls upon whirls, it's probably a very good model for some of the higher structures that we will understand more completely, the deeper we get into occultism. So thanks for that that thought. It's the DK students are very mental. This is noticed by a lot of people who run into DK students. But the one has to make sure that the heart qualities are added to this mentality, because the only way to access life, and that's what we're talking about here in this series of webinars, we're talking about life or being. The only way to do that is through the very center of life and through all the higher hearts. The monad itself is a heart. And as I explained, or tried to explain in the last session, the etheric heart of the planetary logos, maybe the solar logos, maybe both, is on the same subplane as the monad is found. At least I extrapolate and believe that to be the case, because and I've showed this thing before, and I'm going to show it again. I should have it handy. I shouldn't have to go searching for it, because I always use it. Okay, but let's see if these are AAB diagrams. The number 8 is there it is, very important, and you notice that the different centers are found on different subplanes. So, none of the chakras of the triad and monad are shown, but they are there. Once Fohat begins its circular motion, it builds chakras on all the planes. So there's probably 49 chakras, or centers of force on the cosmic physical plane. But notice how the heart center is found on the second ether. And there it is, see, heart. And up here where there are chakras but they're not shown, this whole cosmic etheric level on the second subplane is a heart, and the monad is there found. The sevenfold heart, fourfold, sevenfold. So through the heart, a lot of mysteries can be understood, and the factor of synthesis can emerge, which is not going to emerge simply through the use of the mind as we usually use the mind. So thanks for drawing that to our attention, Clesia. Thank you. And that's that Adam, I think he was a student of Master K.H.'s. This man Babbitt, and it's a huge book, I forget what it's called, something about color, and it's a big book, and in it is found the atom, the Babbitt's atom. Okay, other questions, Brett, that we have, or statements or comments?
Michael?
Yes.
Yes, from Maria Christinas says, you mentioned the 12-fold nature of the monad.
Yes.
Would you comment on this?
Well, it's just a little hint. But see if you get anything different out of it than I have gotten, because I don't think it's mentioned anywhere else but one place. And here is the place as far as I can find it. It's in Esoteric Healing. And here it is in the second method of healing. See what you get out of this. Of course, Pisces is the 12th sign, and the monad is the great savior, and so the 12-foldness of the monad is hinted at. I leave my father's home, I the monad, and going forth I save. It's a Pisces 12, but here's what I get it from. The heart revolves. Two hearts revolve as one. The 12 within the vehicle, the 12 within the head, and the 12 upon the plane of soul endeavor cooperate as one, and thus the work is done. Two energies achieve this consummation, and here's the point, and the three whose number is a 12 respond to the greater 12. The life is known, and the years prolonged. So, the greater 12 to me is the monad, the seat of life. And in these fantastic techniques, it's so often the monad itself which is evoked, or invoked and then maybe evoked, in the healing process. This is the hint, and I believe, well, temporarily at least, I believe it's correct. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, friends, anything? I guess we are reaching the point. I try to keep these at about an hour and 45 minutes or so, or no more than 2 hours. Anyway, the subject is a great subject, and I have to keep on insisting that it does not allow us to become pure mystics. Neptune must be blended with Uranus, the mystic and the occultist. Now, in our solar system, I think Neptune is the king. It's a great second-ray solar system at this time, and Neptune has a second-ray monad. Uranus has a first-ray monad. And in the next solar system, how many ever trillions of years it may be from now, Uranus will be the major planet because the personality ray of the solar logos will, I believe, be the first, and it will be a first-ray solar system. So Uranus will have a tremendous role to play, even greater than in this solar system. But now it's Neptune. But the thing that we must realize is that what we're doing here is not just a mystical pursuit. Remember what the Tibetan says about the occultist. The occultist works through identification. Now that's okay, because the mystic oftentimes had that sense of duality. I strive towards God, and there's this ongoing. There's I and there's God, and the occultist brings the two together, which is why I think a fantastic mantra for all of this work is just I. And there's nothing egoistic about that at all. It's absolutely the destruction of the ego. Any ego. A universe is an ego. It's an egg. Destruction of the ego when you use the mantram I in a understanding way. I've been thinking about these things a long time, ever since I got that little book, The Crest Jewel of Discrimination. It solidified things for me years and years after I met my teacher on the physical plane, and as I say, my teacher was, identification itself. That's the thing I learned. I didn't learn it to be able to practice it and realize it like he could, but got me started on the right path. And then later, when Shankara's book, The Crest Jewel of Discrimination, fell into my hands, just a tiny little book, I carry it with me all the time, it's just falling apart. Back in 1991 or so, that opened a lot of doors, and DK insisted. There's a translation by Chatterjee. I didn't have that one at first. I have it now, but there's a translation of the Viveka Kudamani, Crest Jewel of Discrimination, by Chatterjee, and DK insisted that all his students have that. His students in his groups of 9, the ones he was communicating with, they have to have that book. Also the Bhagavad Gita, also the New Testament, And of course, maybe the greatest statement about identification is in the Bible with John 17, I guess. I don't know what verse it is, but it's John 17, and it's the Christ speaking of how he is in his disciples, and he and they are in the Father, and you realize something of what he was realizing. Okay, friends. So, if there's nothing else, then we will move forward to the next time. Like I say, let me let you know. I know I'm always a little bit late in this, and just look for me about the 12 hours before these things usually happen. It'll probably be at the same time. It might be a little bit later. And if I'm traveling, it will have to be deferred until the next time. But we will continue this never-ending subject, trying to evolve the new language that DK talks about, and the realizations that come with this, being able to use this language. Now, you're all going to have your own way, absolutely. The Antakarana is built by everyone in his or her own way. So these are just hints and ways of going about this, and you will find your own way in, where you will meet yourself as you ever have been. So let's just close simply with something very humble and powerful. Our 5 o'clock mantra, maybe I should call it the 5 o'clock in the morning mantra. And we'll use the word we, but as this mantram I was suggested, one day we can say, and may I fulfill my part in the one work, and the I becomes the all-inclusive I. But for now, we will simply use the word we. Okay. May the power of the one life pour through the group of all true servers. May the love of the one soul characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones. May we fulfill our part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. Okay, friends, so that'll be it for now, and I'll send this out to you. Brett will help. It'll be on Makara, Victoria's site, and where they are accumulating by now, I suppose. And you'll have the meditation too, if you want to use it. Or to practice it, but it's really very simple. Just practice a little bit of this I am you kind of thing at odd hours and with strange people. Wherever you may be, just see if you can get into the substratum rather than the quality. Quality is necessary, but the substratum is unique and elusive until we become it as we always have been. All right. Good night, good morning, good day. Thank you for showing up.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye and thank
Thank
you.
you, Mother.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, Sam. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well,
You said
Thank you.